A little bit. Go ahead. Try to say something.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey guys. Oh yeah, I can hear you now. Cool.
Okay.
Oh my God, I'm so excited to be speaking with Fox and Sparrow Films and Michelle and Alisha, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's Andrie or Andre?
It's funny. It's spelled with an I, but it's Andre.
It's
Oh,
Andre.
okay.
Okay.
We were like, it's Andrie.
I love the flag, by the way, guys. At the behind you guys. I love-
Oh yeah.
We're like, is it too much? I don't know, but we have it up in our living room, so.
Okay, you guys just didn't set it up for the podcast. You guys had that.
It's here on occasion, yeah. I mean,
Okay, I'm recording now, but yeah, I'm so excited to be able to speak with you guys and kind of like, hear your story. And I've created this podcast to just kind of like, showcase other creative story and like where you guys, started. But we just kind of go with the flow with it, There's
yeah,
nothing,
I think it's awesome that you're doing it. I feel like we've heard some of our friends have started other podcasts as well, kind of like on Spotify and stuff. But I think it's awesome you're doing a video one with
Yeah, they're always
YouTube.
really fun.
Yeah.
I know it's good to have the face on. I mean, like if someone's watching it, they can see you as well. But yeah, I've been following you guys for a while now on Instagram. I first came across of you guys. I believe it was maybe it was How to Film Weddings, or is it through Instagram? But maybe one of
Okay,
these,
it's part of that group too. Yeah.
yeah, so I've been following you, and the first impression that I had from your work was kind of like, I'm not sure if you're following J and Mac Films, but I had I had that feel of the vibe, but at the same time it's your brand, the Fox and Sparrow Films. It gave me a vibe of like elopement, weddings, and yeah, I've been drawn to your style, and I really love what you put out there. And I'd love to hear about you guys. Like how did you get started doing video together? What's the story like?
Right, yeah. So I started video a long time ago. So I'm pretty much the person who started it all in high school and kind of like went that route.
With the big camera.
Yep. Was with a little camcorder in high school, and then kind of just like did ongoing projects from there. And it wasn't until a friend of mine was like, "Hey, you want to go shoot weddings?" And I was like, "I don't know what I'm doing, but sure." And so I kind of like helped him on that route, and eventually branched into my own business, and then met Alisha on the East Coast doing
Okay.
film in Vermont.
Mhm.
And we kind of just hit it off really well. She came to the West Coast and lived with me, and we kind of just got to the point where I feel like you get to a certain point where you start doing more travel weddings, and then you start realizing we could be doing this together and be making the most out of life, and just like enjoying ourselves as a couple, and filming other couples. And so I figured, like, if I train Alisha, I feel like we could just be doing this together. So
Well, and also just there's a lot of couples in the videography business, I feel like too, and it just kind of keeps that consistency, especially for clients, when you're not having, like, before you were hiring out to like different friends, but it was never like the consistent same person every time. And so I think what we found is that also with it being the same people every time too, if we want to tweak things or change things, there's all
we
that
could do it jointly, and
communication
it was
behind the scenes that we can kind of make it like progress in the direction.
But I guess you kind of, you with Maggie, it's like, so like shooting alongside each other, it's kind of that, if anything, if you guys want to go a different route, if you guys want to change something up, you guys can kind of like communicate and start growing together as a team.
Right.
We've been together since, well, the company together since 2018. Been shooting since then. And and it was like an easy flow coming out here with everybody.
So you've been filming together with weddings, like both of Alisha and Michelle. You guys are doing like wedding, three of you guys.
Oh no, 3 years. Sorry, I thought you were going in years.
No. Yeah. So you've been filming together for 3 years now, and that must be a nice thing to be able to do, having your partner, being able to make this as an income, and then having to work with each other. Are you guys doing this full time now, or do you guys have other jobs that supplement the finance, or?
So when I was in Los Angeles, I was mainly working as a camera assistant. So, and Alisha was also on set and working for PF Candle.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we both pretty much had our own jobs.
The wedding stuff in LA was definitely
it was
more on the
supplemental.
side. But then when we came out here, Michelle made it full time for her, and then I'm just doing some part-time work right now. But the hope is that we'll be able to get to hopefully
a point
full
where
time
we just
for
go
both
full
of us.
time. But it was kind of scary coming out here because it was the only thing I could really rely on. And when I was in Los Angeles, it was sort of like, it was half and half. I would associate shoot and lead shoot, second shoot and lead shoot for other companies, as well as doing Fox and Sparrow films. And when we decided to move out here, I was like, I think this is what I gotta do. Yeah. I mean, there wasn't any way for me to really camera assist out here unless I was living in New York. And up in Maine, there's such a small little film community that I felt like it wasn't really gonna be much. So we were just like, we gotta make this work somehow.
So you guys are residing in Maine now, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so okay, so you guys moved to Maine and then pursuing, you know, the wedding videography. And you mentioned, is Alisha still working right now, or are you?
Yeah, I'm still doing part-time work right now.
Okay.
Which is helpful, like during the kind of our down season right now, which we didn't have as much of in LA, but definitely on the East Coast, there's not a lot of weddings in January.
It is very different. It was like such a, I don't even know how to say it. It was just very startling just knowing that, like, you know, the whole wedding season is from like May to like November.
Right,
and like, that's
like
it.
End of October.
Yeah. And it's like, and it's crazy because, you know, when we were in Los Angeles, I mean, we would get weddings all year round. So we had, you know, we could do 20 weddings in 12 months. And it was very like laid back, very like, okay, we can do this, you know. Out here, it's just like, once the wedding season kicks in, I'm like, go, go, go.
Right. I'm curious. So you guys are new to the area of Maine. Have you guys lived here before, or like, why Maine?
So I grew up on the East Coast. I was born and raised in Vermont, and then after college, I lived in Boston for a really long time. And one of my very best friends from high school, he and his husband moved up here to Portland, which isn't far from Boston. So I would like hop up to Portland on the weekends to visit with them, and just kind of really fell in love with this area. I mean, Maine is beautiful, and Portland has like a lot of really good food. So it was just a fun place to come. So
it was also our first national park.
Oh yeah,
we went to Acadia National Park.
Oh, Acadia, okay.
So after we had met, we were like, let's go to Acadia National Park. And so Maine sort of had a sentimental place in our hearts.
But yeah, I mean, it was just, I knew that I wanted to come back east at some point because a majority of my family is back here, and Michelle was kind of ready to live somewhere else other than LA, since that's
gotta do it once in your life.
So yeah, we were kind of, I don't know, we were just thinking, and we were like, Maine, let's go to Maine.
It's dog friendly. It has to be dog friendly. And we love beer. So we were like, wow, it ticks off all the marks.
Oh my God. It seems that you guys have been doing a lot of like a bunch of experience already, you know, with before going to Maine, you guys had like pretty much a huge life beforehand. Like you guys been traveling, and like, you know, I even saw that you guys had your own like van that you converted into a home.
Where's the van?
The goal was to be doing more elopements and to be traveling in the van and have everything situated. Except like we still take it to elopements occasionally, but then it got really sticky on like, well, what if someone breaks into the van and then all the gear goes, you know? So we were like, maybe let's just have it be like a weekend getaway.
Okay, so you guys were initially planning on like doing weddings while you're in the van, but that kind of didn't work out.
We got like a little scared.
Yeah, it's a big insurance thing, and we were just like, oh.
Yeah.
But it was definitely like, I've taken it to Yosemite once, and pretty much from there we just drove across country, and we've occasionally taken it to a couple weddings up here, but that's pretty much it.
So how did it get started with the wedding? I know you mentioned you guys did weddings on the West Coast, and now you guys are doing weddings here in Maine. Are you guys mostly doing weddings here around the area, or are you still like traveling different places to do weddings?
So this year, so it's crazy because
Well,
I feel
COVID
like
kind of like threw a wrench in things, and so we
yes,
still had at the beginning of the year we had a pretty
for
good
2020.
for 2020. We had a pretty sizable amount of weddings that were still on the West Coast, and then they were kind of all more in the spring, early summer, and a lot of those wound up changing either until later of the year or moving to this year or next year.
But we got
so we kind of were able to fill in with more
weddings.
Local weddings this year, which was kind of cool, and it was kind of great because we were trying to establish ourselves here anyways.
But went to, was Mexico one of? No, that was 2019.
That was 2019.
Okay, so went to Yosemite twice this year, and I feel like once you kind of branch into one of those markets, or once you kind of like do a certain location wedding, like whether it's a certain national park, Acadia, or one of them, I feel like people start finding you on YouTube and they start inquiring more about like, hey, you've been here, you've done it before, let's hire you again. But we got to go twice this year, which was awesome. And then the rest have pretty much been, like Alisha said, the local East Coast. Kind of
spread out through Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont. Vermont this year?
It's such a crazy bubble. I feel like in LA, I would go up and down California because it was so big.
Right.
Like here, San Diego, up a little bit more, like San Luis Obispo. And out here, it's like drive 40 minutes and you're in New Hampshire. So it's just like.
Right, that's so cool. And you guys were, like what you mentioned, you guys were initially going to do full time last year. Is that correct? For Alisha, she was going to do full time with you last year.
We were kind of, I think, because we had just moved here, it was kind of up in the air, like, well, let's see how it's going to play out. And then because COVID pretty much just came rolling right in after we moved, we were like, nope, like, let's not try that for this year. Let's just play it safe. I'll get some income coming in on the side. But hopefully in the future, maybe 2022.
Yeah.
Michelle, you're doing the full-time videography. This is like, you started it, you put your heart into this business and you following your passion, I guess, which is wedding videography.
I've been wearing these clothes for the last year. I haven't taken them off. I haven't left home.
You haven't left home? Oh my God. So I'm sure I've talked to a few creatives as well, like they just had started out their business, and with COVID they changed their plans. And I'm sure for Alisha, she's feeling the same way. You were gonna do this full time with Michelle, and then with COVID, plans changed.
Yeah, it was a year of like, it kept us on our toes. I mean, I feel like everybody, lots of creatives too that we've talked to, I mean, everybody's still in the same boat, even coming into this year, like, well, I mean, I think things are going to be good, but I mean, do I need to go back and like do a bar job this coming summer? I don't know.
Oh my God.
It's a little bit like,
but the business stayed afloat. I think the biggest concern once COVID hit was like whether or not, and I think I talked to you about this earlier, but like when we moved, we were like, all right, how is this even going to play out? Like the whole move was already kind of a little scary because we had no weddings booked. 2 or 3.
We had a couple.
When was that? What year was that?
This is 2019 when we knew we were going to move in 2020. Okay. So when we were ready to get to move, we were like, all right, we're going to reach out to a bunch of people, get everything situated. And we had reached out to a bunch of photographers, other videographers in the area, and pretty much tried to situate ourselves while we were still on the West Coast or the East Coast.
Just so people knew
but
that we were going to be here, knew who we were.
But a bulk, and I would say, I think Alicia's right. We had booked like, I would say 1/3 of our amount of weddings in the East Coast. And then we had, or maybe it was half and half. It might've been half and half. Yeah. But we had then the rest of our weddings on the West Coast. And so we were like, this is good because, we're going to be on the East Coast. And then when we don't have like the East Coast jobs, we can just fly out to the West Coast and do those jobs. And so we might be taking a hit because of the flights, but we would still have a source of income. And then 2020 hit. And then everyone was like, I got to cancel my wedding. I got to cancel my wedding. We were like, oh my gosh. And that's when Alisha was like, what are we going to do? And then she was like, I got to find another job.
Find a bar job.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh my gosh. And so but it was crazy because then, we ended up getting government, income and support from them. And suddenly
the community out here too. I mean, the other creatives that we've met, photographers, especially other videographers, like everyone has been so welcoming and just wonderful and just really helpful, being like, oh my gosh, you're new. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, this is awful. Like, you don't know anybody and it's like COVID. And so everyone was great. I mean, we did like so many Zoom calls with people, like,
yes,
just chatting to try to get to know each other. And
then they just slowly started rolling in. It was just like, I don't know if it was a miracle, but I feel like we definitely set ourselves up for success prior to the pandemic.
Yeah.
But just getting to know everybody, just like networking and, communicating with other people. And even though COVID had hit, we still made it a point to virtually chat with photographers. I mean, I want to say we chatted with like 10 people at least.
Oh
I mean, at one point we were burned out through FaceTime. We were like,
I cannot stare at this screen anymore. Like, we have to put a pin in it. Like, I need a break.
But I mean, that on top of just like, hanging out with friends on virtually, I feel like there was a point where everyone was doing everything virtually because that's all you could do. But it was great to socialize and meet.
So for someone who's transitioning, like who's planning on moving to a different state, so what they would have to do is kind of just, reach out to other creative. You guys didn't even know these people, right?
No. Yeah. So how we set ourselves up was pretty much, we knew we wanted to move 2 or 3 months prior?
Probably, yeah, maybe a little bit more.
And so we just started reaching out and trying to establish a network out in the East Coast.
But really just like looking up on social media,
definitely,
that was pretty much the thing.
Reaching out that way,
slipping into the DMs.
Yeah.
So the way it seems like the way to go if you're trying to move to a different state and if you want to establish your business there, it seems that you have to reach out to people on social media, just putting it out there, Zooming with them.
We found that, like, I mean, I feel like, I'm pretty sure other videographers in the area with how to film weddings are learning a lot about networking and stuff, but it's so true. I mean, you could be the best videographer and, be super awesome at your job, but if you don't know people, you're not going to get anywhere.
Right.
And, and I feel like because the community out here is so supportive. It's been amazing. I feel like we pretty much owe it to everybody else who's pretty much spread our name out. And we were doing styled shoots. Like, we were just literally doing it all right off the bat and stayed afloat in 2020. And it all worked out totally fine. And we're pretty much, I want to say, like, we're pretty much booked for 2021. And we're, booking for 2022. And you're, how many you got? Like 10?
Well, I mean, for me, I'm sure it's a different situation because I just started and also I'm not charging as much as you guys, I'm pretty sure. And,
But I think it's awesome you're already like getting into that calendar.
Yeah, I mean, it's good, but like at the same time, I'm not charging as much. That's why I'm getting a lot of clientele, but like I'm taking it slow just because I don't feel comfortable charging someone, more than tricky just because of the experience that I don't have that you guys have, Yeah, so
that's definitely how everybody, well, I don't know if
I feel
everybody,
like a lot
but
of people
that's how
come to that.
We started. I mean, you just kind of build up, and it's
definitely
true. Starting at that level, I think it bolsters your confidence, because you're getting clients, you're getting that experience, you're getting out there, you're meeting other people, and then, you just start climbing up the ladder little bit by little bit.
I feel like the rule of thumb is like, and I've learned this from one of my friends, Storytime Motions, she's in Los Angeles, but Kiana mentioned that, like, once you book, let's just say you book half of your dates for a certain year, or I would say 75% of them, for the last 25%, give it a bump. Because by then, like,
even just a little one,
whatever you're comfortable with, because by then, that, like, I only got 3. So, like, that's not really going to hurt me if nobody decides to book or if anything happens. But chances are people will book you because you're probably not going to be like jumping numbers like crazy. You're just
definitely
little bumps.
So I'm kind of just testing out the waters just because I probably almost have like 20 now, just like with the email. So for 2022, but like, again, like what you said, I should consider it when I get to 75%, I got to bump that up, but I know you guys are working with weddings. I work with Maggie, my partner. She's not here right now, but like I do have this situation. I haven't done a lot of weddings such compared to you guys, but like you know, me as leading the wedding for that day, like sometimes like it could get stressful where I have to, you know, get myself, like I would have to, you know, say something to Maggie where it stresses her out. But like, I want to hear your situation. Like, what is it like working with each other? Like the stress and like, what is Michelle like to Alisha, you know?
It's been a big learning curve.
Huge. I feel like, but I mean, I feel like where we are now is definitely.
We've gotten to a very healthy point, but it took probably a good
loads of
2
communication
years of learning how to communicate to each other and just being really open. Well, really me being open with you, being like, hey, could you not like yell at me from over there to do this thing? Like, just say it a little bit nicer, you know, and just find those.
But I feel like it's also reading between the lines. So like I could say something to her, and I feel like if it was a second shooter that I hired, they would be like, all right, got it.
I probably would take it a little more personally.
She'd be like, well, how about you say it a little nicer? And so it's like, it's that whole, like, because you're in a relationship, you kind of do read in the lines when you are saying stuff. Yeah. And I feel like that kind of takes a part. It does play a part in communicating properly. And it really taught us a lot about how to communicate with each other and knowing what works best. But we have a lot of friends, not a lot, I would say, but we have some friends at the moment who are trying to work with their spouse as well. And we had given them pointers like, just be very patient. You can't expect your, you know, girlfriend, boyfriend, spouse, fiance to get it right away. Like you have to literally take it day by day, give them small little tasks so they don't feel like they're not accomplishing what you want them to accomplish. Like you gotta make the task small so that way they surpass that task.
Well, and I think too, it makes a difference. I didn't really have any videography experience. I had, you know, taken like a couple photography classes in college and like after college, but so I had like very base knowledge of how a camera worked and those type of things. But I mean, it was a huge learning curve for me because I was stepping into working with Michelle and she had already like 10 years of experience. And I was like, look, like, I don't know how any of this works. And like,
we started you off as a third shooter.
Yeah, started off as a third shooter, kind of that first year.
The Fox and Sparrow actually used to be 3 people.
Yeah.
3 people?
It was whoever I wanted to hire as my second. Yeah, it was whoever I would like, hire as my second. Yeah.
But that was a great way too, I think, if people are looking to, you know, move into bringing their partner on and they don't have that experience, starting off as a third, you know, it's very low key in terms of, from my standpoint, like learning, you know, how the wedding day works,
that's the basics for sure,
necessary, what gear needs to move where at what point, and you kind of learn all of that stuff without all the pressure of being a second, because then once you're the second, it's like you have to know that stuff and you're like the pack mule and you're shooting at the same time. So yeah, I think starting off as a third shooter, if you're able to do that,
even for free, really helps, or like, just like on other people's shoots. And you know, we had a couple of
there were other friends
that were doing 2 shooters, and it was, I would, you know, message them and be like, hey, are you open for a third shooter? Like, Alisha's available, I'll give her my gear. And so that's kind of the way,
show up and try to learn as much as I could.
Yep. So she did a couple of weddings as a third shooter for other companies using my gear. And I would hope that, how many did you do? I would like 10?
I don't even know. Yeah, maybe like between 8 and 10 in that first year.
But all with my gear, and she'd come back, and I know that she probably learned something. And it was kind of neat too, because she would work with different companies, and she was learning how everyone kind of managed their own thing. Yeah. And then, you know, eventually was like, I really like the way we're doing things because of how we have things organized. And I was like, cool, like you're knowing how things play out, you're knowing what works best for you. But yeah.
But yeah, it's always challenging, I think. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I think I was cutting a little bit. Like what Michelle said, like you get like, you know, like what Michelle said, like you want to give those tasks to your partner slowly, because like I feel like it's kind of like a learning curve, but at the same time I could imagine Michelle, you know, being really passionate and what she's doing, she's gonna get in the zone. I feel like that kind of just like disappears and like, you do this, you do that, you know, it kind of.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely has become a thing. And I try to just like sit there and know that like, okay. I mean, sometimes it's one of those things where like, maybe if Alicia's too far, or if I know that like, she can't make it. I don't know. There's times where like, I'm trying to think of other situations that we've been.
Well, I think it really just comes down to experience. The more time you work with each other, the easier it's going to become. You're going to figure out those patterns.
I lost my train of thought. I was like, help me out, Alisha. I don't know what I'm saying.
But I could imagine like having, like you mentioned, like you guys have three shooters, right? Overall. No, that's like 4 shooters overall, right?
Used to have 3. So I used to hire my good friends in Los Angeles and bring Alisha on as a 3rd shooter. Sorry, people are like dinging me up.
You guys are famous. That's why everyone's like trying to reach out to you.
But yeah, it's just 3rd shooting, and I feel like honestly, communicating is it's one of those things where like on the day of, we keep it very formal.
Yeah, it's being super
and like how you meant, I
professional.
think that's what I was trying to get at earlier. Was just it's not about us. It's not about, you know, if there's a certain thing that needs to be done and I'm feeling overwhelmed, I just do it. I know that I can do it, and it may or may not be done right with her help or not. But this was in the beginning. And after the day had finished, we pretty much go and review the day. We would review the day, we would review the footage, and I would be like, oh, so remember this one time this was happening, I actually needed you to be over here, and like all this stuff. And just knowing that there was a formula, that I don't bombard her with a bunch of corrections, or on the day of, you know, get too flustered and be like, I need you over here, you know. But knowing that, like, you know, she's my partner, and, you know, at the same time, we're also in a professional setting, and that we need to just keep our cool and do the day as best as possible, whether it's, you know, 75% me, 25% Alisha at the moment. And then just later on, and at this point it's like 50-50, so it's been good.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like too, that first year where I was my first year seconding, it was like there were definitely rough spots.
Yeah.
And I feel that I think we were listening, I want to say it was Jay and Mac, but maybe
and they actually
White and Reverie, there are a couple other like couple duos
that talk about, you know,
working with each other. So we would like listen to them, you know, different podcasts that they had done, or whatever it happened to be. But it's definitely helpful to reach out to other people and be like, how do you make this work? Because like you're driving me.
Has it been better? Has it been better with you guys recently? The weddings that you've been doing recently, has it been better with the communication?
Yeah, I would say definitely. The last year and a half has been.
I think it was just getting Alisha up to par. And I feel like,
so that I was comfortable with the day and knowing what my responsibilities were in terms of the day, and being comfortable and confident in like, oh yeah, I can go off and do a groom prep. I know what I need to do. Like we're good. And once I got there, then Michelle was confident, like, oh no, she's fine. It's good to go. So once you kind of get to that level, that there's more trust there. So there's a little less friction in terms of like, oh gosh, like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, or she doesn't know what she's doing, or all that kind of stuff.
But I feel like it definitely helps. You know, you got to let the bird fly, you know, like after she got to a point,
the ledge,
I was like, all right. And it's funny too, because it's like, she was even telling me, you have to let me go do this by myself. And like, I think you were talking about this earlier, Andrie, but just, you know, when you're talking to your partner, you have to, at one point, you can't take all the load. You have to, at one point, know that you have to trust them and give them that responsibility. Either they will fail or they will succeed, but whether or not they do it correctly, it's a learning curve. Like we were all there at one point. And I feel like that's, you know, I've definitely in my lifetime have had a handful of mess ups at a wedding, because you got one shot, but you know, that's why we have multiple cameras, right? So like if you mess up on one camera, you got the other camera.
I know. So just to go back on like having 3 videographers, what made you, like for you, Michelle, you've hired like 3 videographers. How does that work? Why would you need 3 videographers? Is it because like the product that you're offering? I could imagine having 3 videographers. Like, oh my God, I don't think I would need that much, you know?
Oh, I know. So, have you ever, and I feel like maybe you have because you're Filipino,
Yeah. How do you know? Yeah.
I have Filipino friends.
Okay.
What is the company in the Philippines that's super awesome?
Mayad Studios. Yeah.
Mayad Studios. So I worked with a bunch of Filipinos. It's funny. I'm sorry. I'm gonna take a Filipino joke right now.
Oh, it's okay. That's okay. I love Filipino jokes.
Anna told me this one, but a bunch of her friends would sit there and be like, what do they say? Format the card? I don't know. They would say format, but they'd be like format. And
format, like we use P
like,
on the,
so they would say like format the card, but they'd be like format, but then it's a horrible joke.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Like, don't format the card, and they're like, no, for Kiana. Or anyways.
Yeah, I think you're getting at like you're using like instead of we use F like fuck you, like I don't, sorry for the language, we would say fuck you, with the P instead of the F. I think the accent as well.
Yeah, but I've worked with so many awesome Filipinos in the West Coast, and it was just a thing. I can't even tell you how it started, but
kind of the avenue that you grew up in terms of video.
It was three people. It was three shooters. It was.
So you've been hiring about like it seems like you're accustomed to like hiring more videographers, just not because of the product you're giving. You just were accustomed to like hiring more people.
Yeah.
More people.
I mean, it can definitely.
It was. You know what
help
it was?
Make the day run smoother. I would say, like as a third shooter for that first year and a half. I know a good friend of ours whose company we both shot for when I was a third. He was always like, oh, it's always so much better when Alisha's here because I don't have to worry about getting the bags and moving this and setting up the, the tripods and all this stuff. So I feel like it just helps, spread out the responsibility to an extent where like kind of the nitty gritty work, you guys are focused on getting the shots and then the third shooter is like, setting everything up and whatever.
And it might be, I don't know if it's a city thing, but I feel like, up in Maine, you only really get 2 locations. You rarely get like a 4 or 5 location wedding.
Yeah.
And on the West Coast, sometimes we would have 5 locations. So, unpacking the car, packing the car, setting up lights. It was an 8-hour day with 5 locations, and you would sit there and be like, oh my God, what do we do?
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It was mainly just, that was what I grew up with. And just, it was always 3 people for some reason. I started off with 2, then I started branching into the 3 shooter world, and eventually went back to the 2.
We just realized that we knew exactly what we needed out of the day and could divide that up basically.
But the biggest thing a third shooter adds, and I feel like this is, what it was the ceremony. I think in Mayad films too, it was a matter of like when the bride came down the aisle, you had like bajillion cameras just like.
They probably have like 7 people out there. I don't know.
It's crazy. So it was like people's reactions, but you get like 5 people's reactions, and then you get like the groom's reaction, and then you'd get like the bride coming down the aisle, but then you'd get her from a different angle. And so I think that was the biggest thing, was the third shooter would capture the audience reactions. So you had, someone down the aisle, and then you had like the glide cam in the back, and then the bride was coming down, and then that would capture them. And then you had your third shooter right next to the glide cam, or the Ronin, whatever gimbal you have. And then they would be getting the audience reactions. And then that was pretty much the biggest thing. It was audience reactions, I think, was the third shooters.
But I'm sure you guys, you probably don't need the third shooter. I'm sure you guys had to work around with it and like find a way to get those shots.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty much, I found that like I can easily, when the bride comes down the aisle, and if there's a big enough gap, I'll just sweep in and grab like a quick shot from the audience, and I find that to be enough. You don't need like 7 shots, I feel like just one good solid shot of everyone rising, or even just a nice shot of someone tearing up is enough.
Yeah.
It's so cool to hear that you had 3 videographers at some point. It's kind of like crazy to hear, because like I couldn't imagine, like especially filming elopements or weddings,
Oh yeah,
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure you might not need.
I feel like at
a
some
lot of
point,
people.
yes, at some points, I remember there were 3 of us in LA, and the photographers were like, "Why the heck are there 3 videographers?" It's so like, you guys,
too many people at the
much.
party.
And it was right. I would be assisting for this company, and it did feel like overwhelming. I was kind of like, why do we have 3 people here? Like,
Oh my god, that's so funny. Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, you guys get like, I can see like Michelle has been in this industry for a while now. Like I could just see like the brand that you guys created is like Fox and Sparrow Films. I really love the brand, and I love like the stuff you put out. I've been watching your work as well. I even saw like that highlight film that you made that there was like a motorcycle. I really like that. And I'm sure like the couples that you're getting now is kind of like the couples that you want to work with just because of the brand that you've created, like unique that you created. And that's really props to you guys, because like I feel like that's the hardest thing, being able to brand yourself towards the couples you want to work with.
Yeah, I was actually just having this conversation with a friend of mine. Jeez Louise.
And it's okay, don't worry about it, it's a background noise.
I wonder if I could turn this thing off. So, whoop, there it goes again.
So you guys are like famous. That's why everyone's like reaching out to you guys.
Ever. And
yeah,
then this
and then
like 1 hour, they're like,
you know what it is? I'm on a group chat. That's what's going on.
That's okay, guys. No, don't even sweat about it. It's okay.
I'm gonna quit. Okay, so I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was like, Michelle, how do I get more bookings? Like, and I introduced him to How to Film Weddings, because that whole thing is amazing, and I feel like we've both learned a lot from it. I feel like I continue to learn from it, because
it's a gold mine, really.
It is, because somebody always knows a little bit more than you do, and you can always offer something that that someone else doesn't know. But I pretty much told them, like, you got to just stick to. Nope, it didn't.
That's okay. Just keep going. Just keep going. Don't worry about it.
Stick to, like, you have to be yourself. And one of the podcasts that I was listening to was talking about pretty much being you and not focusing so much on the gear. I feel like a lot of videographers focus a lot on the gear and focus a lot on the effects, the visuals, like all these things, but we don't really focus on the brand and the client experience.
Which I think it was comparing to kind of like videographers to photographers, and photographers spend a lot of time, well, typically it seems like
they don't
building
really
relationships
care much about
with
the
their
gear.
clients, how they present themselves on social media,
and trying to get more of what they want, so that way they can give that, like, give that back. So like if you want more elopements, I'm trying to think, like, you just gotta like pretty much put yourself out there in the elopement field, do an elopement for X amount of money, and then start trying to be like they have to love you before you leave the day. I think that's something that I took upon. I don't know if you've listened to this podcast, but I think John Bunn mentioned this before, but it's, they have to love you before you leave. And when they do that, you've already done your job. Like, they're going to love the video no matter what. And I feel like we've made it a point to really focus a lot on being true to ourselves with the website and not trying to be someone else, but just like letting people like us for who we are, not being afraid to post certain things,
And
like,
I think you guys did it such a,
like, that's a big one. And we don't wave a flag on the website, which I think we might, but like, that's a part of us, and we want people who support us, and you want to spend the day with someone who you really vibe with. And I feel like we're friends with a lot of our couples still. On Instagram, like I'm still posting on like their kids, like stuff that their kids do, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I actually still get messages from brides who are like, I just recommended you guys are amazing, and I shot their wedding like 2 years ago. One of them just asked me to see if I could do a birthing video. Like, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. But it's like that, all about that,
but it is cool because you kind of
keeping towards the client,
a community too with your clients, in that sense that like a couple from 2 years ago, they bought a house and they're like renovating it, and we're always like, oh, look, did you see what they did today? Did you see the floors? It looks so good. Like, writing to them, and it's nice. It's like a nice
And it's
additional
all
community.
and it's all through Instagram as well. Like, I mean, like, it's all, everyone's on Instagram, and you know, you kind of just like, if whatever is happening with your couple's life, you could just like, oh, they have bought a house, so it's so easy to kind of just like, you know, comment on it and like make that connection. And I'm pretty sure you guys did such a great job doing that, because like, you know, like what you mentioned, you guys are still in touch with your couples. And again, like the brand that you've created is such like unique, and like I've never seen any video, like a lot, I don't see a lot of videographers that has like a strong brand, and you guys are like, you guys are high level, like, you know, like brand. Yeah, I really love like the Fox and Sparrow. Like the first time I like followed you guys, it really just attracts me to your brand, because like, you know, like how strongly your personality that you show in there, and especially like the couples that you portray there, you kind of just have that vibe, like, you know, of that's true to you guys. Like you do elopements, you guys are like same-sex couple, you guys look like you guys do this amazing, you know, stuff together. And like I feel like that's such a unique brand, and like props, like I'm glad that it's working out now where your couples are seeing that, and like it's so easy, like you just smoothly transition to getting couples because of like what you guys created. So
I mean, we've even been talking more this year about like, oh, maybe we could even put ourselves on the Fox and Sparrow social a little bit more.
We're really bad with Instagram.
Personable.
Oh yeah.
That's what we love, like with Jay and Mac. I mean, they post these like funny behind the scenes. Like they just posted one, and he like scared her while she was editing, and we were laughing because like I do that to Michelle all the time. And we were like, see, like we're not the only ones. Like it happens to everybody. But I love that they really give a lot of kind of like behind the curtain, you know, kind of stuff.
It's a lot of work though. It's a lot of work.
And that's the hardest part.
Because a lot of time too.
Yes, on top of me already having to, you know, gruel through the editing and having to, you know, respond to emails and keeping up with all this other stuff. Yeah. It's really draining. And by the time you get to Instagram.
Right. It's a different job. It's a different job being there.
But you know, like it really, I'm pretty sure, but I feel like our following can get way bigger if we just invested time in it.
Couples always say the few times that we make it on there to do those more personal posts, we always get comments from couples like, "Oh my gosh, we loved it when you guys did this post on whatever, you were making soup and we followed along or whatever." And we're like, "Oh, okay, like cool. I'm glad that was something you enjoyed."
Yeah. Well, again, you have to kind of love it. You have to love the social media to be able to be consistent with it. You know, if you're the type of person that you don't want to do it, you know, like it's gonna be hard.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I'm not saying that we have to be influencers, but you technically do. Like, if you want more followers and more people to recognize you
have the more people,
and you need to kind of put a face to the name. And I feel like there's a lot of things that we're still constantly learning, and I feel like that's our biggest at the moment. Like that's a sinking ship for us at the moment.
Well, maybe you guys should like do like a TikTok dance, you know?
I know.
Instagram, like
do it all the time. We were like, do we need to learn one of these dance things?
No.
Would Michelle be up for it? Because I feel like it would be, hey, honestly, you guys dancing, you know, like TikTok. I really think that would be a great thing.
I feel like a lot of practice.
Yeah. Maybe cooking. I feel like cooking could be our thing.
So what? So I asked this to other creatives, like, what's your goal for this year? I know with COVID, we're really unsure, but like, what's your goals towards the business, or like just a personal thing for you guys to work on this year?
Well, what are yours?
Well, I was just gonna say, I think for the business, I mean, we were kind of happily surprised by this past year, kind of being able to keep everything afloat in that way. So optimistic for this year that, you know, with the vaccine rollout, you know, at least here in Maine, the timeline kind of is like right around June when things are going to start to, you know, wedding stuff will start to pick up. So we're like, okay, like I hope this is going to go the way we were thinking it will. But
I feel like for the company, the biggest goals that we currently have set up, and we were talking about this a month ago, we have certain days where we talk about business and other days where we don't. And I feel like that's a big thing for couples. Alexa.
No one to draw the line.
Alexa tells us when it's time, but it'll be like, It's 6:30, wedding videography, and then we're like,
oh my god, it's funny.
I'm set. But that's it. And anything past that, we try not to bring it in because we find that like it can be draining.
It trickles in, but it's good to have those boundaries because it can really just like steamroll.
Yes. But it's the biggest thing is Instagram, doing more fun content. I feel like we have so much footage, and it's just a matter of either Alisha or I just getting down and figuring out like, this is a good snippet. You know, it's all about
just doing smaller, short little clips
and just presenting ourselves more on Instagram, because I feel like so far we've done all the grueling work we've done all the work to get to, a good price where we want to be. Obviously we want to be more than we are, but where we are right now, I'm totally comfortable with, considering we do like a max of 20 weddings a year.
Okay.
But Instagram, so that we can get more.
Yeah, I think social media is maybe our biggest kind of mountain to climb this year, to really try and up that.
And trying to get Alisha to do more assisting editing. She helps me out with the final product and occasionally helps me out with some of the culling and stuff, but I feel like
kind of the second part of this year, because of COVID, everything really got pushed to the end of the year. So we had a lot of weddings kind of like bam, 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 bam.
And I felt overwhelmed.
And Michelle was like, I need help.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I was, at one point I had like 5 weddings on top of me, and I was like, oh my gosh. And it's
so I kind of stepped in and started doing the culling of the footage and getting everything organized. And so I think moving into this year too, that's something that, maybe after the first or second wedding, when stuff starts to pick up, that'll just be something that will become another one of my responsibilities.
Yeah.
So what's your struggle, like your struggles? Like, I mean, you guys did mention like, your plan for this year. What's your struggles of like, with the business? Like, what are you struggling recently with the business?
Biggest struggles. I think for me, it's been right when you said that, maybe there's another one, but right when you said that, the biggest thing that I felt was one for me was just managing the editing and managing the rest of my life.
What do you mean by rest of your life? I'd love to hear that.
with Alisha helping me on the assistant. Sorry, I'm like word garbage.
No, you're okay. You're okay.
But Alisha helping me with assistant editing. I felt very overwhelmed, and whenever it came to weekends, we try to take the weekends off. It came to a point where Alisha was like, oh, I thought we were going to take the weekend off. But I was like, I still feel like I need to edit. Like,
like work-life balance.
We're like 3-4 weeks in, and I like really want to get this edit done. But I feel like if Alisha takes on that load and it doesn't just kind of pile on me too much, then I feel like we'll be able to make a balance. But I feel like balance is key, and that's the biggest thing that we've been trying to really work on.
And I think that's, and I mean,
because you don't want to burn yourself out either. Like, and that's
a lot of people I think have experienced that this year, with a lot of people working from home in all fields that aren't
you just get sucked into it.
It's so easy to just lose track of the day and then not have any time for yourself, not have time to cook a nice meal or take a break or take the dog to the beach for whatever, any of those things that are really important in terms of self-care and care to your relationship and friends and family and all that stuff. You kind of have to get into a routine, which I feel like you've gotten to in the past few months, of being like, okay, this is when I'm working. And with you taking on some of this load, I'm able to then at 6 p.m. be like, okay, I'm done for the day. I did 6 hours. We're back at it tomorrow.
And it wasn't an issue in Los Angeles because we had 12 months with 20 weddings. Out here, we have 6 months for 20 weddings. So it just
really gets concentrated into a short amount of time.
Yeah. And it's just, it was really a psychological struggle for me to know that, like, it's okay to have 5 weddings that you have to edit. That's just the way things work out here, and I think couples are very understanding of it. And I've spoken to other videographers about it. I'm like, how do you feel knowing that you have 5 weddings to edit? And, everyone's talked about like just being very blunt in the, if you give a brochure, if you're talking to your client beforehand, knowing that like it's 4 to 16 weeks. It's 1 month to 6 months, whatever you need. Obviously you want to overachieve and give it to them as soon as possible, but you need to give yourself that time, because if you don't, then once you lose a week, then it just starts all like piling over, and then you start stressing. But if you give yourself 6 months and you deliver in 2, great, but that you have 6 months to work with.
Yeah.
It seems like this is gonna be the situation I'm gonna be in. I'm learning a lot from you guys, just because I'm gonna be taking in 40 weddings this year, and the reason offered 40 weddings just because the amount of the type of work I'm doing. I'm only offering my couples a 5 to 6 minute highlight video. Not to say that it will take like I could just like easily edit those, but like the product I'm giving them, I'm able to do 40 weddings just because I'm giving them only 5 to 6 minute highlight videos. That's why I feel comfortable taking 40 weddings. For you guys, it seems like your product that you're giving is more longer, and it has a long process on that, and I'm sure like that's why you guys are charging more as well.
Yeah, I feel like our weddings can really vary. I mean, I don't know, it's one of those things where like
but it's also, sorry to interrupt, but I think too it's different with everybody. I mean, you had a friend back in LA who did it, and he could crank out,
oh my gosh,
like nobody's business.
A week.
I mean, he was just a whiz. So yeah,
really?
In a week,
40 weddings and put out these big long edits. And
wait, 40 weddings a week?
No, he would. Well, yeah. So he would do up like, I'm not really sure if he did 40 weddings, but it would take him like a week. So like we would shoot the wedding, and then I would go to bed and wake up, and the teaser was out, and I was like, what the heck? And then literally a week later, I'd see a tag with my name on it, and he was like, the wedding's finished. And I was like, what? So like, I kept feeling like I was behind giving my couples their wedding video a month in. But
I think, it's important to, there's so much comparison in this field, I feel like, in terms of just finding how it works for you and what you're capable of. And if you're one of those people, you can do.
And your style too. Like if you're doing 5 to 6 minutes and, you got a certain style down, like people want to see consistency. And if that's what you're offering, that's what they want, So like, I think it's awesome that you can crank them out a lot quicker with 5 to 6. I feel like I'm constantly wanting to like learn and like do stuff that's a little bit different. And obviously still staying true to me, but yeah, a lot of stories can vary. Like we did one that was 10 minutes, and it just kind of ended up being that way because I felt like if I make it any shorter, I feel like I'm not really going to give them their entire day.
And I did see that, I did see like you guys offer like different kind of packages, right? Like you guys do the longer one and shorter highlight as well.
So we do like the highlights film, which we range. I mean, we tell our couples it's like 6 to 9 minutes, but it can really depend. And then we do the full documentary edit, which is like a 60-minute just layout of the whole day. Mainly because we shoot knowing that you're going to want that footage. So we make sure that we shoot everything with multiple cameras, knowing that you could potentially even want the raw footage. I think we stopped offering the raw footage this year. Just because we felt like it was kind of like we should just have.
Most people don't have a want for it or a need.
But I also feel like couples don't really know what they do want. Like you should tell them what they want. And I was like, they see the numbers, they'll see raw footage and see that it's cheaper than getting like a documentary edit. But they don't know that like what they're getting is a bunch of like camera shakes and then like I'm like, Alisha,
Yeah, that's good to kind of like communicate beforehand, like what they're getting. But it seems like balance is a huge thing for us, I guess, going to this field, especially you're taking 20 weddings. So I'm taking 40 weddings, like what you mentioned. You gotta find a balance because I haven't had the experience of doing 40 weddings or even like filming that much weddings. And just from your experience, seems like you gotta find a balance just because like you could get burnt out, doing that.
And I mean like, and I feel like after you do the 40 weddings, you'll definitely, either at the end of it, love it or hate it, and then want to continue doing 40, or maybe find that you're like, heck, I don't want to do this anymore.
No, I hope that's not ever happens.
But I think was Jake Weisler was on one of the How to Film Weddings podcast.
Oh yeah, have you listened to all of them?
And
not all of them. I mean, I listen to you guys. That's
he was talking about how that first year that he went in, and
I think he did 100.
Summarize, but he did a lot, and he just totally, he was like,
yeah. If you're young and like motivated, why not? That's
let's do it. I got it.
Yeah.
And then I feel like everybody, you kind of get to that, and then you realize whether that's sustainable for you or whether you need to like reel it back in. But I think it's great. You kind of have to get to that point to figure out what your tipping point is.
right. It's a learning experience. We'll see what happens. So.
I've also heard that it also helps to know that you're shooting exactly what you need. Like, sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
But knowing not to overshoot, like we have a system. One of the last weddings that we shot, we were actually there for like 2 hours of dancing. And I felt bad that Alisha was just standing around. And I was kind of
just wound up that like we really didn't need to be there.
I mean, 2 hours of dancing
wise for those
it's only going to be so little for the highlights. And if they want a longer full documentary edit, we do like a song. So there's only so much footage that you actually need.
And especially because it was COVID, so there were very few people there too. So you didn't have like 100 people that you were filming everybody different. It was like the same 25 people that you were like, okay, like I've got through everybody. We're going to go through again.
But I feel like being precise with what you're shooting and not overshooting and not having, and that's something that I've learned, from one of our buddies in LA was the reason why he was cranking these out so fast was because he knew exactly what he would shoot, but he had a formula down. I felt like, every couple's a little different. So it's good to kind of like do something a little different that's more catered to them rather than just them fitting in your formula. But he would shoot everything kind of the same to some extent. And it just like, he was able to crank them out because he had his formula and he knew what he's shooting.
Same shots. And
the second shooter was just like, for that one angle that he like didn't catch, he was like, oh, go to the second shooters. But that's it. Like he didn't have to cull through all the footage and then try to find things.
Right. I mean, it seems like, it just goes with experience. I mean, if you're starting out, you kind of have to overshoot just because you want to make sure you have enough footage. But if you have enough experience, I'm sure like, you know what to shoot. And also, I know just before we're ending this, I know you guys got recently engaged, Michelle proposed to Alisha. I do before we leave, I do want to like touch on this topic because I seen it, like it's not huge, but like maybe it is, but I've seen it on Instagram. Like I know some venues, may not like, I don't know if this is a sensitive topic for you guys, but like,
totally fine.
no, like, I know some venues, they still have a problem, supporting the same-sex marriage on their venue. What's your thoughts on that? 'Cause I don't know if you guys worked a venue local from you guys or heard any venues are,
Haven't yet.
I haven't personally run into that, but are super aware that it exists out there, obviously.
And that Maine is like a 50-50 swing state. But I feel like, well, the venue that we're hoping to get, I'm pretty sure we're hoping to get like a campground.
Okay.
So and I feel like that's not really, we're not really religious. So I feel like we wouldn't even really enter that realm of.
But I mean, it's definitely a thing. I mean, you hear about couples who, go to a bakery to get a cake and then they're like, oh, you're a same-sex couple. We don't want to make a cake for you and all that jazz. So it's out there. It's a tough thing to kind of wrap your head around to realize that could potentially happen. I think for us in terms of planning our own wedding, we kind of know who we want just because we know them personally. So we know that those are safe spaces.
And that safe space is definitely a thing. And I will say this, coming from, I mean, we were vendors before, we still are, but now we're on the other side of it. And it's
a new learning experience being on this side as well.
But it definitely does. I feel like we were leaning more towards LGBTQ friendly vendors because we knew we wanted that safe space. And I feel like, posting that on your website is nice.
As a vendor, having, anything on your Instagram, it just says like, all are welcome here, or, putting your pronouns, all of those things from someone in the queer community looking to hire someone, if they see that, they're going to say like, oh, that's a safe space. I feel okay reaching out, contacting you, knowing that this is a safe place for me to come. And
we've even been, I mean, I know that like, you know, we are two girls, but we were even like, you know, maybe we should add a little bit more to the website, you know, posting our views, you know, like posting Black Lives Matter with a little like stamp somewhere on the website, you know, science, you know, and just like things that we believe in, because, you know, all in all, you want to be working with people that you trust and
who
that trust you in return. And we definitely want people to know our beliefs and want people to feel
and it's kind of like crazy, like from when I saw that on Instagram, it's kind of like mind-blowing that like that still exists, you know. And like I was like, oh my god, like that really is a thing. Is this even reality? But like what you mentioned about like putting the if you know the LGBTQ is it LG? Not to be ignorant, because I'm sorry.
It's gotten a little bigger, yes.
It's like really.
So far, we know LGBTQ+.
And then, yeah.
It might be a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then Black Lives Matter as well. You know, I feel like a lot of vendors are out there. It maybe still hesitant to put that, just because maybe they may have their couple may have a different view. But I do want to like put that LGBT. I'm sorry, guys.
Almost there.
You're good.
I do want to put that on my Instagram, just because I have no problem with it, and I want to shoot with same sex. I do have like 3 couples that are same sex, and I'm going to be filming their wedding. I'm pretty excited, and I really want that space, or opportunity to have someone to feel welcome, if they were going to be inquiring. So I do want to put that on my Instagram or website as well.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely something that we've learned. Also, having prices on the website helps. There's certain things that we've kind of learned.
From this side of looking to book people, it is nice to be able to go on a website when you're like, all right, what are we going to do for this? And you're, whatever it is, and you're checking out websites. I mean, obviously you want to reach out and have
the connection
with people, but it is nice when you have a budget that you can be like, oh, nope, sorry,
just like
that's not going to happen.
And like, I'm kind of happy that we have a starting price, but I feel like knowing just throwing that like starting price out there, I feel like just gives people a good idea. That's something that we've kind of like to navigate, where we know like, okay, but then again, I know that could be a little difficult for some people, because maybe you do offer a certain discount for a certain time of day or something that you would be willing to do for cheaper. And I know some people don't put their prices up for that reason.
Well, I mean, especially if you're starting out as well, if you put your prices out there, I feel like for someone who's established, I feel like it's really a comfortable thing to put their, because you're getting clients. But for someone like me who's just starting out as well, I feel like, if I put my prices out there, maybe they might not hire me because of this is my price. I want to make sure they, communicate with me and then see what I offer, and in hopes that they will, want to hire me. But I think it is, if you're established, I think there's nothing really a problem, putting your prices.
And there's definitely something to be said about not putting your prices and having them reach out to you first, because I feel like we do virtual meets with our clients. 100%. We do not book a wedding until we've seen you face to face, because I used to do that way back in the day, and there was such a disconnect. But we've done that for the last 2-3 years. And I lost my train of thought.
No,
that's okay.
It helps to kind of start that connection from the beginning to really be able to communicate.
Because you do book them, and then they end up liking you, and then they'll make the price work, because they're like, dang, I fell in love with them. Like,
but it's so important that, especially for photographers and videographers, we, as like we're up in your business all day. Like, we're there for every moment of your wedding. So you want to be comfortable with those people that you're bringing into that space. So kind of like within the same vein of people knowing that it's a safe space if you're LGBT or, a person of color and all of that stuff, it's having that relationship go beyond that to know it's just a safe space. Like, you're comfortable bringing those people in. It's just helpful.
Yeah. I mean, I want to put for me, I don't personally put my prices in the website, just because I don't feel like I get enough clients. But like, you know, again, before ending this, I didn't.
So I'm like mind blown right now. I'm like, what do you mean?
No, yeah, before, I'm sorry if I talked about sensitive topics with you guys.
Totally
You know, like I do, like, I feel like that's like something to be brought up, because, you know, we still see that, and kind of like it kind of hurts my heart being able, you know, knowing that this happens. We're like literally like in 2021, and you still see, you know, like vendors that has a different viewpoint. But again, like I will put like the, you know, LGBT on my caption, just because like what you guys mentioned, you feel comfortable seeing that. Just, you know, if a vendor has that, I want them to feel that way. But I don't want to take more away time from you guys, but it was really like, you guys are easy to talk to, and like you guys are, you know, you guys are awesome. Like, I'm glad that I was able to speak with you guys.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having us.
Did you have any other questions? I mean,
yeah.
No, I mean, like, it seems like I blank out too, like Michelle. Like, I blank out. Like,
I blank out way too much. I feel like maybe our dog can make a little cameo. Misty.
So Misty, that's the one in Instagram, right? Like, is it like a wolf? I don't want to say a wolf. No, it's a Serbian. Like, is it like a Serbian, right?
Siberian Husky.
Siberian
technically,
Husky.
we're not 100% sure because we rescued her, but that's what they.
Oh my God, so cute! Right there. I did see Husky. Wait, what's the name?
Misty.
Yeah, I did see Misty just cross at the back, but oh my God,
actually
so
related to some of the styled shoots that we've been on.
I can't believe you guys rescued Misty. That's a dog, like a Siberian dog. Like, that's kind of rare.
There's a lot of them that go up for adoption in LA because people have a tendency to get them as puppies and they think they're really cute, but they're very active, high energy, and a lot of people in LA live in apartments and they don't have, you know, a backyard or the time to be taking them on a 3-mile.
But it works with my lifestyle, because when you're constantly editing and you're behind the computer, you need to wind down. So for me, like, we do 5-mile walks almost every day. We occasionally have like an off day or so, but I feel like that helps and that keeps her, you know, in check.
Oh my God, that must be nice having to, you know, being able to work having Misty next to you. But anyways, I think am I still on, guys?
Yeah, you're still
on.
Oh,
okay.
No, Zoom has like a 40-minute like cap, right?
But I don't want to take more time away from you guys, but it was such a great moment talking with you guys. Would you guys be okay if I put this in YouTube, and you know, I'm still, like, starting out my podcast?
The other ones too, go for it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys. I'll be uploading this to YouTube, but anyways, if you guys can also send me like your profile picture through Instagram, I'd appreciate that as well.
Yeah, for sure. We'll do
that.
You guys are so cool. Like, it's so easy to talk with you guys again. Like, the first impression I got from you guys were easy to talk to.
Yeah.
I love everything.
Chat video stuff, let me know. Like, I'm on
definitely
all the time and love chatting with that stuff.
I love meeting with you guys. I love everything about you guys, and we'll keep in touch.
All right.
Sounds good. Have a good
Thank
night.
you again. Bye, guys.
Bye.